Welcome to ManageEngine Mobile Device Manager Plus training. My name is Naveen and I would be your trainer for the day. This would be our training schedule. This week, we'd be working on modern management of Windows 10 machines and Mac machines. In the last 2 weeks, we were, discussing in detail how you guys can onboard your mobile devices or machines into the MDM solution. What are the provisioning activities like common or basic profiles that we provide with the MDM solution itself? How you can distribute your applications, and at the same time, how you guys can maintain your device security in the devices itself. But today it's going to be an interesting topic. This is the first time we are picking this up because we would like to flex our muscles a bit over here because right now Windows management and Mac machine management is everything. The world is a mobile world. Everyone has a Windows machine and everyone has a Mac machine at their place, and even the respective vendors, Microsoft or Apple, what they have brought in right now is they are going to a particular scenario or a particular mode wherein these devices, your Mac machines or your laptops, are considered more as a mobile device itself rather than a machine. So let's see our training agenda as to what we are going to cover in this training session itself. First, we would have a brief overview of the Mobile Device Manager Plus product, general introduction about MDM, the ports used by it, etc. So this is only in a case for all the new users who have joined in for the training session today. If you guys are already using Desktop Central, then it's great. It would be a treat for you guys. And for others who don't know what Desktop Central is, I would explain that. But let me go into the training agenda. Next, we would look into onboarding of your Windows 10 laptops and Macs into the mobile device management solution itself. What are the enrollment methods we have and how you can enroll your machines into the MDM solution. Followed by which we would be talking about deploying corporate configurations to your machines, like deploying basic settings or even configuring certain additional settings on your Windows machines or on your Mac machines. So we would see how we can create these particular profiles and how we can distribute them to the respective machines itself. And we would also talk about managing apps and data on your machines, like installing applications on your Macs or on your Windows machine silently. And also, we would talk more about securely distributing the content to your machines or devices as well. And at the end, we would talk about the scenarios and solutions, basic scenarios that I have come across in the tenure wherein I have worked as a support engineer. I would just shed some light on some scenarios that most of the admins would go through on a day-to-day basis, and we would discuss on the solutions as well. Let's get started with our first topic for the day, which would be the overview of the Mobile Device Manager Plus product. So as a mobile device management platform, we support all the OS systems, the popular OS systems that are out there in the market right now. So here we have the ability to manage your MacBooks, your iPhones, your Windows machines, your Windows mobile devices, though their support would be thrown away by this end of the year. I did like the Windows Phone, by the way, but it's sad to see that Windows Phone is leaving, but we do have the Surface Pro tablets or the Microsoft Surface Hub that can still be managed under the MDM solution itself. And you also have the ability to manage your Android devices as well as your Chromebooks with the MDM solution. And now we would see how the product is available. So as most of you are already joined in, after 2 or 3 training sessions, you guys would get to know the MDM is available as an on-premise solution, which is standalone. It's also available on the cloud as well, standalone. And we have the MSP edition. So the MSP edition right now is on the on-premise edition. Soon it would be released for the cloud-based users as well. So the Mobile Device Manager Plus MSP would be out for your cloud as well. And the next comes the Desktop Central solution. So Desktop Central solution is the legacy management tool that we use currently under ManageEngine, or we distribute from ManageEngine itself to manage or maintain all of your Windows machines, your Linux machines, your Mac machines. It can be even your Windows servers or Linux servers as well. So all these machines can be managed. You have umpty number of opportunities under the Desktop Central for your machines. And when it's fused with the MDM solution, it gives you the modern management capabilities on your Windows machines or Mac machines, along with all the legacy activities that you'd like to perform, followed by which you can also manage your mobile devices. So this is all under one single console. Thus, it brings it down to the unified endpoint management solution. So this is the UEM solution that we provide right now through the ManageEngine services itself. And now for the integration. So one of the hardcore integrations that I talked about was Desktop Central. But apart from that, in the life of an administrator, we would be opening a ticket portal at some point in life, because it's not just working on machines or pushing out applications. You guys would be working on tickets. So here we have multiple integrations provided, wherein you can integrate the product with Spiceworks, ServiceNow, Jira, or even Zendesk support. You can also have a tight-knit integration with Service Desk Plus, which is our own internal ticketing tool that is provided by ManageEngine. And at the same time, you have the ability to, integrate the MDM through third-party API key generation. So at the bottom, you have the link, www.manageengine.com/MDM-API, which would give you the API details as to how you can integrate any third-party service with the MDM solution itself. So not just your Zoho Creator or Zoho CRM, it can be any application that you own. If it has all the right details with it, you can gladly go ahead and integrate it with the MDM solution. The architecture of MDM is a universal architecture, is what I would call it. Any MDM solution would have to follow this particular architecture. And this has three main components. First one would be the MDM solution that is provided by us, followed by the notification services that are provided by your vendors. And the third one would be the managed mobile devices itself, the devices that you have purchased for your company. Now, when an MDM would like to contact a particular device or would like to wake up a device, it would send a notification to the respective services. So in the case it's Apple, it's your Apple push notification services. In the case of Google, it's your Firebase cloud messaging service. Or in case it's Windows, it would be the Windows notification services. So once the command is sent to the respective services, these servers would in turn wake up the mobile device, and then the mobile device would directly reach out to the MDM server. So in most cases, your laptops or your mobile devices would always be on the go. They would not be connected to a stationed LAN network. So for your mobile devices to reach the MDM server, in the case it's an on-premise solution, you would have to expose the server itself, which means the console and the server machine would be exposed to the internet. So in order to prevent such a scenario, we have brought in an add-on component over here called as the secure gateway service that can be placed in your DMZ. So it's kind of like a proxy service that we have created just for the MDM solution. So any requests from the mobile devices would be forwarded or taken up by the proxy or the secure gateway service, and then it would be forwarded to the mobile device manager plus service itself. Thus, your MDM service does not need to be exposed to the internet itself. Only the secure gateway service, which is present in your DMZ, should be exposed to the internet. And at last, you have the ability to integrate your Active Directory solutions with the MDM for device enrollment and provisioning options. Now for the ports used by Mobile Device Manager Plus. The main port, in case you are going for an on-premise solution, would be the port 9383. So 9383 would be the port that you guys would be using, wherein the mobile devices would reach the Mobile Device Manager Plus service. And if you're a cloud-based solution, then just the 443, the regular HTTPS port should be opened on your network. We have talked about the architecture in detail and the ports used by it, but the mobile devices in this case are managed by multiple factors, is what I would say. In case of Android, there aren't any native clients present over there. So what we do is we deploy an MDM application to the device, which would manage your devices. But in the case it's a Windows machine or a Mac machine or an iOS device or a Windows phone, what we do in this case is that the developers or the vendors itself, they have given a native client on their OS itself. So using that native client, we would manage your mobile devices. So an MDM application is strictly not necessary in these devices. In your iOS or Windows devices, it's not strictly necessary to be present on the device itself in order to manage them. So this is how we would manage the mobile devices under the MDM solution. So let's take a quick stroll through the MDM product itself. This would be the MDM solution. And here is the tab, the home tab, which is just a predefined tab of all the platform summary, the device type, the applications that you guys have added to your devices itself. You then have your device management tab. So this was something that we worked on last week in detail, is what I would say. We talked about profiles, app repository. I also remoted into a device, initiated the loss mode. So all those activities can be performed from your device management tab. We also went through inventory, where I showed, one of my colleagues were traveling around in Canada, and you get all these location details from the inventory page over here. You also have your enrollment tab. So the enrollment tab is where you guys would work a lot. So in case of bringing in your mobile devices into the MDM solution or your laptops into the MDM solution, would be through the enrollment page that you see over here. Followed by which we would also collect reports of the devices that are being managed by the MDM solution. And then last but not least, the admin tab, wherein you administrators can have fun. So you can assign technicians who can have access only to certain mobile devices. You can also tweak the options like what is the maximum passcode length, the number of sessions that can be active, etc. So all these administrative changes on your console can be done from the admin tab. So without further delay, let's head into the first topic, the actual topic for the day, which is to onboard your Windows 10 laptops into the MDM solution. Let's take a quick check over here. Previously, in the first week, we were talking about multiple enrollment options. And one of the enrollment options that we discussed in detail was the Apple Business Manager solution and the Google Zero Touch enrollment, both of which are cloud services that are provided by Apple or Google in this case. And using those cloud services, we were able to enroll your iOS devices or your Android devices into the MDM. So Microsoft is just not going to sit like that. So they have their own enrollment option just like that. So that would be your Windows Autopilot enrollment itself. So let's see how the Autopilot enrollment works. Here, you would integrate the MDM solution with the Azure AD, followed by which you would add the devices into the business portal store. So it's nothing but just adding your Windows laptops onto the Azure portal itself. And once you have integrated the Azure portal with the MDM, you can just distribute the laptops to your users, and your users can just turn them on. So once these machines are turned on, automatically those devices would get registered with the MDM solution itself. So there are certain prerequisites that you'd have to cover before you can start enrolling your Windows 10 laptops into the MDM solution through the Azure Autopilot service. First, you would require a third-party certificate to be added in the MDM solution. So it's the third-party SSL certificate that has to be added under the admin tab over here. So if you're having an on-premise solution, something like Desktop Central or something like MDM, then you'd have to import the SSL certificate. But if you guys are from the cloud service, then everything is taken care by us. You don't have to upload any third-party certificates for your MDM cloud service. Once that is done, you'd have to get an Azure administrator account. So it's a default prerequisite if you'd like to use the Azure services. And then you'd have to purchase the adequate Azure user licenses. So these are user licenses that are provided by Microsoft itself if you'd like to make use of the Autopilot solution under any MDM whatsoever. So this would be your Azure portal itself. So here you have Microsoft Azure, you log in with the admin credentials. And once you have logged in, you can go to Azure Active Directory, followed by which you can go to Mobility, MDM, and MAM. And then you can click to add the application. So you might ask what application I should add into the solution itself. So it's nothing but adding or integrating the MDM service, be it the MDM on-premise or the cloud solution, into the service over here, into your Azure portal. So first, what you'd have to do is once you have navigated to the mobility and add application, you'd have to search for the on-premise MDM application. So let me also show you some key details before that. So here under the mobile device management tab, for a few users, the UI might have changed. This is the Desktop Central solution that I know we use, that we provide to our customers. And here you can find the mobile device management platform tightly knitted with the software itself. So here you have all the details. So it's also available in your on-premise solution and your cloud-based solution. So all the links would be available over there. So here you have the ability. I know we would give you all the options like uploading the third-party certificate from here, purchasing the adequate licenses. So if you click on this purchase link, it would directly navigate to the Azure portal itself. And then you can also configure an app template. So the MDM terms of use URL, the discovery URL, and the app ID URL as well. So if you'd like the MDM application to be distributed from the server itself, if you'd like to use the terms of use document from the server. So here under admin, we have the ability to upload your own terms of use document. So here under terms of use document, you can upload your own terms of use document, and that would be presented on the machine or mobile device itself as and when it's being enrolled into the MDM solution. Now, let's head back to the presentation itself. So here you have the Azure portal. You have the ability to choose for the application itself, which would be the on-premise MDM application. So once you have identified that, you can click on add. And once it's added, you can find the application details over here, which is the on-premise MDM application. Once this has been onboarded, you can then copy and paste the URLs. So here you have the ability to check on the user scope. So if you'd like to have the machines be enrolled into the MDM solution itself for all the Azure users that you have added under the Azure portal, or only for some selected groups. So first you can set the MDM user scope. Then you can copy the URL from the screen that I had shown for the terms of use and the MDM discovery URL as well, which is nothing but your server URL. So once you have configured these three details, then you have one other option, which is the on-premise MDM application settings. So once you click on that, you have all the options. So here you have the ability to expose the API, and you can also mention the application ID URL. So it's nothing but the app ID that would be present over here. So you'd copy this particular app ID that is generated for your service, and then you would paste it on this particular option. So once that is done, this application ID would be bound to the app that you have added under Azure. Once that is done, you have all the details filled in. You can click on save, and the MDM on-premise application would be saved, and following which any user who's going to activate the device, and based on the user scope that you have set over here, their devices would either be enrolled with the MDM, or their devices would not be enrolled with the MDM solution itself. So this is in the case of an on-premise solution. And in the case of cloud, here again, we go back to the previous page wherein you go to mobility, MDM and MAM. You click on add application, and then you choose ManageEngine MDM. So ManageEngine MDM would be our cloud application. You choose and click on add, followed by which you would find the ManageEngine MDM over here. So ManageEngine MDM is strictly for cloud-based users. If you guys are using on-premise like Desktop Central or the on-premise version of MDM, then it would be the on-premise MDM application, the common application that any MDM service would use. So there won't be any ManageEngine tags on it. So let's go ahead with the options itself. So once you click on this particular MDM, the ManageEngine MDM, which is the cloud-based application, you would again have the ability to save the terms of use URL and the discovery URL as well, followed by which you would also be able to set the MDM user scope. But the one option that you won't find over here would be the settings for your MDM application. The reason why you would not find that is because now for the cloud-based solution, you are directly importing the MDM app itself, an app that was published by us. So in that case, you don't have to point the Azure service to a particular URL to obtain all these necessary app details. Rather, we would have already linked the necessary details with Azure itself. So once you click on save, your accounts would automatically be added with the service itself. And once that is done, it would ask you to sign in to the Microsoft application. So this is a case wherein you are going to add your devices into the Azure program itself. So here, if you'd see, let me take you to the enrollment portal. And coming down, I have Azure Enrollment and Autopilot. So here you have all the troubleshooting steps, etc. But once I have set that all up, now I would have to integrate the MDM service, or I've integrate the MDM service with Azure, followed by which I would also have to map my machines. So remember previously under the ABM solution, I'm talking about 2 weeks back when we were in the training session, I talked about adding the serial numbers into the ABM solution itself. So that gave you the ability to map the mobile device to the MDM server itself. So similar to that, here under Windows, you have the ability to map the mobile device to the MDM service. And for that, first you'd have to sign into the Microsoft Store for Business, and then you'd have to click on Devices, followed by which you'd have to create a deployment profile. So this is something that would be similar to the Google Zero Touch enrollment that we were talking about, creating a profile, assigning it to devices, and then enrolling them into the MDM. For a few users who have joined in today, who might not know what was discussed in the first week's training, we would always share all of our training videos through our help documents, and we would also send a mail once this particular training session is completed. And also, if you have any doubts regarding the topics that we are going to cover today, or even if you'd like to have the links of the training sessions that were conducted the past 2 weeks, you can directly contact the chat team itself. So I have an experienced chat team beside me who would be answering all of your queries. So let's continue with the deployment phase. So here I'm going to create a new profile, a deployment profile. And once I have gone into that page, I have the ability to skip certain options. So the autopilot deployment would by default skip certain options like Cortana, OneDrive registration, or OEM registration setup pages. Your privacy settings can also be skipped. You can also disable local admin account creation on the device, which is very useful because you're going to give these machines to a user, and when they're booting up, you don't want them to add a local admin account on the device itself. And at last, you can also skip the end user license agreement. So all these options can be neglected, can be skipped, and then you can click on create. So once you have created a deployment profile, it's all about adding your machines into this particular portal. So step 3 is where you would upload the device details. So you click on add device. It would ask you to add the device to a particular group. So you can choose what group that you'd like to distribute it to. You can name any group that you'd like. And then once that is done, you can then go for uploading a CSV file. So once you click on the group, you'd have the ability to go ahead and upload the necessary CSV files. And once the files are uploaded, automatically your serial number and your Windows product ID, everything would be added to the service over here. So you can also export these details out in the form of a CSV as well. Once that is done, your devices have been successfully added to the Windows platform itself, following which all you have to do is to just turn on the machine and your machines would be enrolled with the MDM solution. So that would be all. You choose the machine, you click the profile that you have just created so that you're targeting the machines to work based on the profile that you have just created. And once that is done, it's all about just assigning the users for your device itself. So here I would go to the enrollment tab. I would come down to Azure Enrollment and I would have a device waiting for user assignment. So at the end, I have the option to assign user. I can either go for a domain user and then assign the user if you'd like, or from here, I have the ability to click on assign users. So take, for example, you are going for a bulk, what I would say, enrolling 500 machines or 100 machines at one single go. And you don't want to assign each and every user to a particular device as and when they started. What you can do in this case is that you would already have the CSV file from Azure itself. So you can just add 2 more columns. One would be the username, other one would be the email address itself. That is all. Once you add them and you upload it as the CSV file over here, as and when your devices are activated, the users will be assigned to that machine. And if you'd like, you can also assign them to a group as well. So all the profiles, all the applications that you have targeted for your Windows machines would be running on your machine itself. So this is how we go about the enrollment for your Windows laptops or Surface Pro tablets. And now for enrolling your Mac machines. So I've always thought about what would be the best I would say machine. Would it workstation? Would it be a Windows or would it be your Mac itself? But that's something that I'm still trying to figure out from time to time. One has a really good UI and another has, I would say, a really good software. I don't know. I like Windows because I've been using it for a long time. But what I can say in this enrollment task is that when it comes to enrollment, both of these vendors have worked in the same way because your Azure enrollment or your Apple Business Manager enrollment would be similar. It's not like the UIs or the services that they provide under their system, which is completely stark opposites to each other is what I would say. But the enrollment methods that they have provided are very similar. So if I can just breeze through this process for you guys, it would just be integrating your Apple Business Manager account with the MDM solution, followed by which you would have to add the serial numbers of your MacBook over to your ABM account itself, and then you just activate the device. Once the devices are activated, they would automatically be registered with the MDM solution itself. So that is pretty much it. You can just go for the regular integration, and turning on your device would automatically enroll the devices with your MDM solution. So now we have talked about onboarding your Windows machines and your Mac machines into the MDM solution. What are the different options that are provided and how we can enroll them into the MDM automatically. Let's take a quick look at deploying certain basic configurations for your machines as well. So as and when you onboard your machines, like your Windows machines or your Mac machines into the service, we would see what are the basic configurations that one can deploy. First, we would start off with Windows 10 laptops, wherein you can deploy basic settings such as Wi-Fi, VPN, your email service. You can also lock down the device in single app kiosk mode or multi-app kiosk mode for your Windows machine. So the kiosk mode that it's really famous for, I would say, because a lot of our users would go for kiosk, is also available in your Windows machines. And you can also perform certain security hardening through your restrictions option that we provide. So let's take a quick look as to where you can perform all these tasks. So here under device management, when I go to profiles, I would have the ability to click and create a profile for the Windows machines. And I click on continue. And here I have all the ability. One, I can force the passcode to be set for a particular machine itself. If you guys are going for AD authentication, then you can go for AD authentication as well. Or if you'd like to set a local password on the machine, you can go for this particular passcode opportunity that you have. Followed by which you can also set up VPNs on your machine. So in the case you are going to distribute an Apex application. Let's just consider, you're going to distribute an enterprise app. The app server is running within your company network, but your machine is going to be roaming elsewhere. So you can set VPNs through the MDM solution so that your applications can have access to the app servers itself. So here we have all the connection types that are available and that can be used. If you'd like to have support for more VPNs, you can always raise it to us as well. And then we have the ability to set up your Exchange Active Sync or your email service as well on the devices. So if it's specifically going to be Exchange Active Sync, you can choose whether it's going to be Office 365 or Exchange on-premise, and we would automatically collect all the domain, UPN, and email details from the AD that you have synced with the MDM service. So based on that, we would enroll, and we would also create the mailbox on your machines. And if it's another email service, something apart from Exchange Active Sync, you can still go for the email option and then configure the required details, the output email box, the input email application. So all these details can be selected and then configured on your machines itself. And here we also have the ability to distribute certificates. So if it's going to be just one single certificate, you can upload it and distribute it to all your machines. But if it's going to be a user-based certificate, then we also support SEEP configuration with the MDM. So for all your Windows 10 machines, they're all user-based, and you'd like to create user-based certificates for, take for example, your internal application itself, then using the SEP configuration over here, you guys can distribute user-based certificates to your machines. And the last option that I would like to talk about would be the kiosk mode. So the kiosk mode is a, a really good feature that anyone can use within the service itself. So it completely locks down the machine to run only one or two applications on it. So it's not just one or two, it can be multiple applications, but in a single app kiosk mode, you can just have that one application alone that would be supported in the entire device. And for now, it has to be an Apex application or an application that is downloaded from the business store itself. Down the line, we would also be supporting EXEs. So once that is out, you can also lock down an entire machine to run a single EXE alone. And we also have another option over here called as multi-app kiosk for your Windows machine. So here you can mention multiple Windows applications or tile applications or Apex applications, and you can lock down an entire machine to run those few applications alone. So in case of Surface Pro tablets, this would lock down an entire Surface Pro tablet to just run, few applications on the screen. So it would be something similar to this. So here you have a Surface Pro tablet, and if you're going to allow only the alarm clock, calculator, the Microsoft Edge, and the MDM application itself, then only these four applications or these five applications would be present on your Surface Pro tablet. If you're going to add any other enterprise Apex bundles, those applications can also be brought up on your home screen. So these are the opportunities or the profiles that we can deploy for your Windows machines, followed by which for your Mac machines, we have various other options. Like here, we have the ability to set basic settings like Wi-Fi, VPN, your email. You can also go for security hardening via restrictions in the profile itself, and you can also have certain proactive policies to secure your corporate data. So in case you'd like to secure the corporate data on your Mac machines, even before it's going to be stolen or if it's going to be misplaced, we have all those opportunities ready as well to to perform on your Mac machines. So in this particular scenario, for your proactive method, is let's take a scenario over here. What would you do if someone breaks into your Mac machine and gets hold of all the corporate data that is present on it? So let's quickly jump back to the service itself. I'll take you through the profile. And in the case of Mac machines, it would fall under the Apple profile itself. So there aren't any specific profiles that you'd like to create for Mac. It would be the common profile that is shared with your iOS devices as well. So here you have the ability to go for restrictions. Here you have your Mac restrictions. So for the Mac, you can disable the camera, you can disable screenshots and screen recording so that none of the screenshots of your applications are taken and shared with other users itself. Content caching can also be restricted, and here again under security you have the ability to restrict iTunes file sharing, and you can also configure the gatekeeper to allow downloads only from specified sources. So if it's going to be allowing downloads only from the App Store, so only from the App Store would we be able to download any options. So all these options are provided over here, and you can also allow the users to override the gatekeeper settings if you'd like, or you can deny them that particular option as well. You also have certain Mac restrictions that can be placed for your iCloud services, wherein you can prevent syncing of data from your managed applications, which is a yes. And you can also prevent syncing of mails, calendars, or even the desktops and the documents from your machine as well. And as I mentioned, you can always set the Wi-Fi, the VPN. So all these options can be configured on your machines by default. But let's take an example wherein you'd like to prevent uh, you know your machine data, to be honest, from being taken by an end user. So let's just say there is a Mac machine lying over there, and somehow the user does have access to that machine itself. But when they would like to retrieve data of that particular machine, you can prevent them with securing the Mac machine using file vault encryption. So what we do over here is we have the ability to set a personal and an institutional recovery key for your Mac machine itself, for your file vault itself, and your file vault would be encrypted. So this is in a case wherein the user would have access to the machine. Let's say somehow they are going to have access to the machine itself. You don't want them to go ahead and get all the details from the file vault. You can gladly encrypt it, and you can also mention the keys as well, whether it has to be using a personal key which only the user would have, or whether you'd like to go for an institutional key wherein you'd have to add the certificate, or a combination of both is what I would recommend from time to time. Once this is done, and you have encrypted all of your machine, the next set or the next phase would be to prevent the user from accessing the machine itself. So that is where we have brought in the firmware password. So this prevents the user from booting a machine using internal or external storage devices apart from the default startup disk. So apart from the default startup disk that is provided by Mac, they're going to plug in any external storage devices, and if they try to boot up that machine itself, we can bring up a particular passcode to be asked for the user itself, to be asked on the screen. So you can mention what is the password that you would like to bring up on that screen. So only if the user presents that password can they even boot their machines itself. So using this, you can make sure that your machines cannot be accessed by other people who have taken the machine and they do not have any rights or any options to access the machine apart from using a bootable device. So even when they use that, you can still use the firmware recovery passcode over here to prevent them from accessing the machine itself. And in order to get the required details of a particular machine, so you can create multiple profiles. So for a particular group, you can set the firmware passcode. For another group, it would be a different passcode. So say someone comes up to you and they say that, hey, I think I might have lost my device, but I have got it back right now, and I would like to boot with an external, drive. Then in that case, if you forgot what the firmware password would be, we would have stored it under the inventory tab. So here under the inventory tab for that particular MacBook, you'd have a tab called as security settings. If you click on here, you would get to know your firmware password details. So you'd have to provide the username and password of the MDM solution itself that you use to log in. And once you have provided these details, you would have the ability to view the firmware password details of this particular MacBook. And the same would go for your file vault encryption details as well. So here you have the ability to view the recovery key of your encrypted file vaults. So this covers the security side on your MacBooks itself. And now for managing apps and contents. But before that, some users might be thinking right now on the service, like how do you guys cover the security side under Windows? And that's where the Desktop Central solution would come into play. So in the case you guys would like to enable BitLocker either through scripts, it can be performed from the Desktop Central solution, and to view the BitLocker information, you have the option to choose and select which machine should get the required details. So all those options are also available under the Desktop Central solution. So if you're going for a Desktop Central solution, this is just my recommendation over here. If you're going for it, you can enroll devices using Azure, You can activate your BitLocker. You can maintain the BitLocker key. At the same time, you can bring in your Mac machines through ABM. You can enroll it through the MDM. You can have the Desktop Central agent install, and following which your packages, softwares, patches, your configurations, scripts, everything can be deployed through the Desktop Central solution. So not just the modern management side, your legacy side as well would be taken care by that particular product over there. So in the case, you guys are, moving forward with all the machines in your company. So right now this might not be a huge thing because even now we still have workstations. We're all coming into the office, checking into the office, sitting down in front of a machine and then working on it. But down the future, say 4 or 5 years from now, even Windows is going to be completely a mobile based platform. Your Mac as well, they won't be staggering behind. They would like to come forward as well. So at that particular moment, you would like to have a complete solution in your hand which can maintain all these legacy activities and your modern management activities as well. So that's why I'm putting forth the Desktop Central solution over here, and following which we can go to our next option. So what about distributing the managed modern applications to your devices itself? So first we'll start with the Mac machine. Here we have the ability to integrate the respective portals. It can be your Windows Business Store or it can be your Apple Business Manager solution itself that can be integrated with the MDM server. Once that is done, you'd have to purchase the applications or approve the applications from the respective portals itself, followed by which you can distribute the apps to your devices. So this is clearly the same integration option that was provided for your iOS mobile devices or your Google devices as well. Integrate the portals, approve applications, distribute the applications to your machines, and voila, the applications would be silently installed on them. And now for managing modern Windows applications. So first, it would be the same option wherein you can silently install your Windows Store apps. You can integrate the store with the MDM solution and then distribute it to your users itself. But before that, you would have to meet certain prerequisites like having an Azure administrator account, and using that Azure administrator account, you would integrate the business store with the MDM itself. So if you click on login right now, it would take you to the Microsoft sign-in page. You give your Azure account to Microsoft over here. They would collect all the required permissions. And then once that is done, you would click on accept and you can activate the MDM application on the business store itself. So once that is done, the first application that would be added through the portal would be the MDM application, followed by which any other applications from the business portal that you have purchased would automatically start to sync with the MDM solution. And here is how we can add an application from the business store into the MDM portal itself. So here you can go to the Microsoft Store for Business. Shop for My Group would be the option, and then you can go for any application that you'd like. Here in this case, we are going for Zoho Vault. And once the application comes up, you can choose and click on the Zoho Vault application and click on Get App. Once you have specified Get App, the Zoho Vault application would be purchased and added to the inventory. So if it's a free application, they would still coin it as purchased, and they would add it to your inventory itself. So once that is done, all you'd have to do is you'd go down to the device management tab over here, app repository, and once that is done, you can come down to sync apps. So here you have the ability to sync for all the Play Stores that you have integrated with the solution itself. It can be your VPP apps for Apple, your Play Store for Android, or your Business Store for your Windows. So you can have a manual sync, which would import all the required details itself. And This would make sure that your applications are fetched at that particular instant itself, or if you forget to sync, no worries, we would run a daily sync every day at around 4 a.m. or 11 p.m. if I'm not wrong, and we would get all your application details from the required portals. And now for the silent installation of your Windows Enterprise applications. So let's go ahead and see what we can perform on your machines itself. So here under the app repository, you have the ability to click on Add App, and down here you have the ability to add your Windows Enterprise application. So you can click and upload a latest Apex file that you have got for your service itself. So here I am choosing this particular Apex application, and I am going to upload the file to our service. So if it's going to be a cloud-based service, it would go to our app server. If it's an on-premise solution, it would be uploaded to the server machine itself. And once it has been successfully uploaded, we would decode what is the app version, what is the minimum OS version, etc. You'd have to provide the bundle identifier as well. So your developer would be providing that. And we have the AI system, is what I would call it, to check and see if there are any dependencies to complete the installation itself. So all these Apex applications, this is a Windows environment that we're talking about, not like your APK files or IPA files for your iOS and your Android devices. These are Apex files for your machines, for your Windows 10 machines itself. So this would require certain dependency files to be present in order to complete the installation. So take for example, I am going to browse for a particular file, and I'm going to add the dependency files over here. So once I start uploading the required dependency files, MDM would still go ahead and check for all the details. And if you've missed out certain dependency files, then we would also throw an error saying that, hey, you have missed certain dependency files. Get back to your developer and then get all the required files so that your installation would be successful. So all you'd have to do is just remove that and go for the correct zip folder that your developer would have given to you. So once you upload the right zip folder with all the required details, we would again start processing the Apex application with the dependency files that you have added to the service. We would check and see if all the applications are present, all the files are present. And once all the files are present, you would have a go signal over here saying that all the required dependency files have been uploaded successfully. And this would make sure that your applications are silently as well as successfully installed on your machines. So once you have provided the bundle identifier, so let's take, for example, I'm going for a random ID over here. You can also provide the configurations, the key and the value. So you can provide dynamic variables over here. We would have an entire table of all the dynamic variables that we support. So if your Apex application is something like a mail application, I'm just giving an example over here, you can mention percentage username percentage and the value, percentage domain percentage and the value. So all these configurations, preloaded configurations, can be added and bundled up with your Apex application and then deployed to your machines itself. So once you have added the app over here, it's the same process that we had followed in these past 2 weeks itself. You choose a particular group, you click on actions, you distribute app, you then choose what OS version it is and distribute your application itself. You can use the silent installation method for both the applications that are added through the business store as well as for your corporate applications. And now for securely distributing corporate data through the MDM solution itself. By corporate data, I would say it would be mostly in the case of your PDF files or Excel files that have to be, discreetly given to your users. So in the case, it's going to be a huge sales deed, and all those sales details are present in a particular PDF. You would like to distribute those documents securely to a particular machine. So here under the device management tab, we have the content management tab over here. You can add all the required documents. It's just not PDF files. You can add any file that you'd like. It can also be a JPEG file or a video file as well, and any doc file, XLS, PPT. So as I mentioned, any file can be added to the content management tab over here. And once it's added, you can choose the files and distribute it to the respective devices or the group itself. So if you'd like to have an entire group to have all the required, PDF files, you can go for it. Or if you'd like to have only certain devices have access to the PDF files, you can distribute it to the respective devices itself. So if I'm going to distribute a particular file to, say, this particular machine over here, Dracaris, and I'm going to click on select, these documents have now been shared to that particular machine. So let me show you what happens on the machine itself. So on the machine, it's a remote machine. So on the machine, you'd have this machine option over here. You'd have the MDM application. So this would be the MDM app that is provided for you guys. And here under content catalog is where you'd have all the PDFs that were shared right now for the device itself. You can also click on the cloud option over here to download the PDF and view it later. So if you click on that particular PDF, see, you would have all the details over here. And from here, you can also print as well. So all these opportunities are available. You can also click on categories and see the tags. So here, based on the tags that you have provided while uploading a particular document, we would segregate your PDFs or your PPTs based on the tags that you have given under the MDM solution itself. And not just that, here you have the app catalog as well. So any apps that you have distributed for your Windows machines would come up over here. You can also go through the terms of use document. So remember, we were talking about, applying the terms of use URL. So the terms of use document as well can be viewed from the MDM application. So if you make any changes on the server side, the same document would come up over here as well. So let me take you back to the service itself. And before that, here you have the privacy policy as well. So under your server, again, if you're going to set certain privacy policies like, the admin can collect the geolocation, the admin can collect the serial number. So if all these options have been configured on the server side, the same would be shown to your users as well. So as a user, they would get to know what are the details that are being collected by the administrator itself. So let's go back to the presentation. I'm sorry, I think I landed on the wrong screen. Yeah. Now, for the final part, which would be going through some scenarios and solutions itself. So let's take the first scenario. We would like to use Active Directory in our organization to manage users. And is it possible to remotely add the Macs that are enrolled into the MDM solution into our organization AD? Well, that is definitely a yes. So the Apple Business Manager solution is not like an Active Directory solution. So there is no user binding once the devices are enrolled, something that you would find for your Windows machines. But for your Mac, we have covered that particular side for you. So you create an Apple profile, click on continue, and down at the bottom you have AD asset binding. So here you can choose as to which Active Directory you would like to add the machine to, and also to which organizational unit you'd like to add the machine to as well. So we would provide all the integration steps to obtain the OU path. And once that is done, you can also set the device access settings. Whether if you go for the mobile type, the users can log into the machine even if the Active Directory is, inaccessible, or if it has to be opened only if it's within your network, you can go for the network option, wherein only if your devices are able to reach the AD would the user be able to log into the machine itself. And also you can provide certain AD user groups to be granted admin privileges when they are logging into their machines itself. So all these options are available under the under the Mobile Device Manager Plus profile option. Now, for scenario 2 is, can we share contacts and calendars to the uh, I, employee's iOS device? Well, yes, we can. Again, we would create an Apple profile, give it a meaningful name, and then we would come down to the contacts, calendar, and the subscribe calendar option over here. And you can also go for LDAP that you'd like. So if you'd like to integrate any LDAP services that you guys are running, you can integrate that as well. You can also, perform integrations with your card dev account details and your call dev account details just to sync in all the contacts and the calendar details from the respective services that you are maintaining for your company. Scenario 3 is, how can we secure all network communications in a managed device? That is possible as well. This is available in the case of Android as well as your iOS devices, where the entire device communication would be routed through a proxy service called as the global HTTP proxy. So this is a proxy server that you guys would have set up in your edge network itself. So even though the device is connected to any external network or even the mobile data, it would still go through the proxy server that you have set over here. So this would make sure that your devices and their communication is completely secure, because you would have blocked a lot of ports, a lot of I would say URLs as well on your firewall, thus making sure that the device does not navigate out of its proportion itself or marked territory. And then you have scenario 4, wherein does MDM on-premise offer multiple options to prevent data loss due to server downtime? Yes, that is available as well. So in the case you are going for an on-premise solution, we have the ability to set up something called as the failover server. So this would make sure that your main server, even if it falls down, there is a server that would be running full time in another locale. It's a secondary server which would come up as soon as your first server is down. So all your device communication would be routed to the second service itself. Now for scenario number 5, can we decide the data that is fetched and displayed by MDM for management? Can the same be informed to our users? Yes. So this is where I was talking about the device privacy policy. So here under privacy settings admin, you have the ability to choose what are the data that can be collected through the MDM, what are the data that should not be collected through the MDM, etc. So all these options can be modified over here as well. So once you have selected the respective details, you can click on save. And as you had seen on the MDM application on your Windows machines, under the security policies, we would show what are the settings that are set for your company itself, whether we are allowed to take the geolocation, whether we are not allowed to take the phone number, etc. So all those details would be listed over there. Scenario 6 is, what are the options available to secure the MDM on-premise service from unauthorized options. So here, let me go into the server once again. I'm coming down to admin. Here I can go to user administration and I can go to secure authentication first, wherein I can, not by just enforcing policies on my users, I can also enforce policies on the technicians as well, wherein they would have to set a complex password. You can also set the minimum password length, and you can set the two-factor authentication as well, just to make your MDM server extra secure in accessing the respective services. And if you're going for the cloud-based service, you have the ability to also set up the two-factor authentication. And by default, the cloud service is always secure. So, the two-factor authentication along with the cloud secure option is more than enough to address the previous scenario. And now for scenario number 7, How do I secure the PII when it's being downloaded or exported in the reports? So here, all you'd have to do is just first set the option. Under admin, you can come down and once you have come down to admin over here, you have the ability to choose and prevent certain options from being exported. So here in the security settings, export settings, you can choose whether you'd like to secure the data exported from the MDM server and also secure the data shared through the reports itself. So here I have marked them as mask PII. So let me show you the same as well. So here I'm going down to inventory, and here I have added the option of, let me just say, let me add the email address over here as well. So I've added the email address over here. So once that is done, that particular option would also be added. And now I'm going to export it out in the form of a PDF file. So the device list would come up, and here in the email you can find now all the details have been masked. So the device name as well as the username, IMEI number, and the serial number. All these details have been masked because we have set the export details as such. So this would complete the Mobile Device Manager Plus training for managing your Windows 10 machines and your Mac machines. Do rate us on a scale from 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. Do also spread some love on the social media sites. I know your this particular option would motivate us a lot to provide you with more training sessions on the MDM solution as well. So thank you guys for your time, and I hope we come back strong next month as well with 3 sessions, and we would discuss more about the new features that would be released under the MDM solution. Yeah. Thank you and have a great day, guys.